New episodes of the I Know You Didn't Ask podcast are out every Monday and Friday, available wherever you listen to podcasts and on YouTube. Welcome to I Know You Didn't Ask. I'm your host, Megan O'Donnell, and I'm so bummed because I had a great guest for today, but unfortunately they got sick, so thoughts and prayers go to them. Naturally, I am here again talking to myself, and I am going to try to get more guests on, but it's fucking hard scheduling, emailing, trying to figure things out, and I'm just doing the best I can. Bear with me. But, anyways, if you guys haven't seen my cute little face, I'm wearing a ponytail, which you know in Megan's world means hair is dirty. I'm wearing a high little pony, a turtleneck, actually kind of like a mock neck. Actually, it's not full turtle, and it's a blue kind of ombre from Gap, of course. But I've realized because I'm filming so many videos now on YouTube and Spotify, I am needing more outfits. I need more clothes, and I have been volunteering at a church thrift store and picking up some incredible pieces. The proceeds do go to the food kitchen that it's associated with. So just want to let everybody know I've been doing good deeds for like 3 weeks before Snap ended. So I've been in the cultural conversation that Americans are hungry. Just putting it out there. But no, I'm planning to continue to volunteer there. And at this little thrift store, they have the best finds. And so I'm shopping a lot. And all the proceeds do go to the food kitchen next door. So to me, this is charity work, me going and volunteering as well as purchasing items from the store. But I have realized I am accumulating things at rapid speed. Again, mind you, a pair of pants for 250. Like we're not talking high numbers here. But incredible donations from my beautiful little community, yeah, have been helping me replenish my looks. So you guys, Love is Blind season 9 just ended this past week. And again, if you're listening to this episode, there are full spoilers of the weddings or lack thereof and the reunion. So if you haven't watched and you want to watch and you want to be surprised, turn this the fuck off and come back. Or don't even watch the last 2 episodes because they were so bland and boring and nothing happened that you'll probably get more out of listening to this podcast than spending 2 hours of your time watching that train wreck, to be quite honest. And, from the jump, I think with all of these relationships, I kind of am a believer that the people go onto this show to genuinely find love. Throughout the season, we then, see these people either kind of come out to be like shady. I was gonna say fuck boys, but it's actually a fuck girl, like Casey, who's like kind of all over the place and might have been wanting this more for notoriety versus actually finding love. And, you start also seeing these people out in the real world and you see how they interact with one another and you can kind of tell like I don't think this is going to working. Like there's a couple sticky situations that aren't going to change. The Allie and Anton drinking situation or Megan and Jordan like not really being able to get through their differences in their lifestyles and how they want to live their life. So yes, on paper and in the pods things seem perfect. Our religions align. We want to raise our family the same way. We have X, Y, and Z in common. And then like you get into the real world and that's kind of where you see how this person actually is. And I mean, I think anybody who has dated out there actively knows that, sometimes by that third or fourth date, you're like either so into the person and you're so happy, or you're immediately like, I have the ick, there's something, this is not going to work, and it's never going to work. And it kind of seems interesting because all of these couples, as I discussed, nobody gets married, TLDR, and none of them also stay together, which is kind of shocking because you'd think, I don't know, maybe they would want to stay on a little bit longer and test it out. But it was clear across the board that none of the couples here even wanted to give it a second chance when they were back in Denver. If anything, they all kind of started dating other people who were in the pods that they had a chance to talk to or maybe had connected with throughout their time there. So it's really interesting to see how this season ended. And it's so wild because Cameron and Lauren from season 1 actually had their baby just a couple weeks ago. So it's kind of like full circle from this show. You're seeing this, lovely couple who like clearly was very into each other in a very genuine way back in season 1. And then, they've had this, great relationship and now they have a beautiful baby. Like what a blessing that came from the show. However, now watching the show, it feels like people again like know what they're getting into. They know there's a possibility of getting some, I say fame in quotes, from coming on this show. This is the first wedding free season they've ever had. So maybe like let's take a little break for season 10. And now it's seeming like the people on this show are less and less of this marriage material. And I thought that was interesting because Madison said that to Joe at one point when he's like, we're all moving really fast and this is really crazy, which he is valid in saying. But she also said, you know what? You knew what you signed up for coming on this show. And you need it to be marriage material if you want to continue on with the experiment and have it actually work out for you. So it's interesting to see, where everybody's coming. And especially at this point of the reunion, nobody's together. So, I mean, this this reunion was so fluffed up with bullshit B-roll, musical performances, a quick interlude to play some basketball with a random guy from the LA Clippers who was really cute, by the way. There will be absolutely no substance in a reunion when the first 3 minutes and 18 seconds are just a man named Miles Smith, who's a lovely singer, singing his song, and the dramatic long entrances of every person walking down and each person getting, introduced and cutting to Miles every 20 seconds. He's playing his song or singing. I don't even remember what he was doing. But, there's nothing to say. They're like, let's burn a hot 3 minutes, 20 seconds, and then we can start the show. And there were a few little hacky moments to distract from the fact that there was no love in this episode, which is ultimately what they have a show that's built on. So, I mean, we'll find some love and interesting things and, surprises along the way from all the cast members. But we're going to start with Allie and Anton. Anton were both children of immigrants in America. They talked about their religion bonding them together. They talked about their experience moving to the United States and learning English. She is a nurse who does not do her laundry and does not pick up after herself during the work week, which I too am guilty of. I too, when I'm in like the thick of crazy work, it's like sometimes you just don't want to fucking think about your laundry. And yes, maybe I'm a child, and yes, I don't have children, and yes, it's probably only going to get worse for me, but that is why I have a partner who is, OCD, and he cleans up after me all the time. And yeah, it's probably annoying sometimes, but I'm getting better. I've been really organizing my closet and trying to figure, systems to make, me less of an Allie and more of an Anton. But they had things in common in the pods and they really hit it off. Outside of the pods, things got ugly. He came across very like family oriented and low key in the pods, but out of the pods, he had like a kind of party boy energy. He's kind of hot. Like, I will say, I liked how he looked in the reunion. All the other men were like wearing literal tuxedos and he was wearing like a black short sleeve collar shirt. Like, I don't know. I thought he looked good. He's beautiful green eyes, but that's again besides the point. So he was drinking a lot. He is Russian, which like doesn't that kind of go with the territory? But again, I'm not condoning over drinking. But their situation did get a little weird when they were like talking about, like this beers that he was drinking with the buddies, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I guess I forgot to tell you that they came and we all drank all these beers up at the apartment. Oh yeah, I guess there was a bottle of tequila. Oh, I don't know what happened to it. Let me go check where it is." Like, bro, you drank the tequila. Like, when she said, "What about the tequila bottle?" It was a mic drop moment. Like, where do you think it is? And the guy, when he's going to look, "Oh, I don't know where it is." Bro, yeah. At one point, you had to put it in the fucking recycling bin. Like, it's sad. I could see her perspective on like not wanting to be with a guy who's like drinking all the time in that way and going to strip clubs with his friends. And like, God, Anton was like, did my friend's girlfriend of 4 months really need to blow up my spot so much at that lunch? Like, why the hell did she do that? She must be looking for her 15 minutes of fame. Like, well, probably not. She was probably just warning this sweet, innocent girl who met you in a pod where you didn't see each other. She's like helping a sister out more so than trying to get 15 minutes of fame. But his mom was very supportive. Her mom was a little less supportive because of the drinking thing. But his mom also attended the tux fitting, which kind of, sparked the reality that Anton might not have too many friends. Mom was at the fitting. That was a little bizarro. Naturally, as I said, none of these couples last. So we're just talking about 6 breakups in a row. It's really sad. But ultimately, she says no to him, and one of her friends tells her like, I've never seen a prettier runaway bride. And I have to say, Allie looked absolutely gorgeous in her dress. I believe she got big new boobs for the reunion. Like, you know what? I'm glad she still has the money to get elective surgery. Like, go off, queen. Get your Botox. Don't let this man tell you he won't pay for your Botox. How rude. If you want a man to pay for your Botox, you can find that, Allie. And I think you will find that. She did give like a very um private response regarding her relationship status. She's like, "Yeah, well, I'm not speaking about my relationship in public forums moving forward." It's either she has an actual boyfriend or she's going to be going on to some like other dating reality show on Netflix because she's kind of perfect for it. Let's be real. One of his friends was cracking me up when she walked out of the wedding and just said, "Oh, she's a cold-hearted fucking bitch." It makes sense if you're Anton's friend to feel that way, but I do think Allie was smart to, kind of get out of there. And I think it was kind of clear as day, even as they were getting closer and talking about what they wanted and expected for their lives. And she was like, "Well, I'm like not going to work if I have kids with you because I'm Brazilian and that's what they do. And you're Russian and that's what the men do there. So that's what I want." And you know what? I guess if a girl is telling you that that's what they want, it's all of their right to say that. And if a guy wants to oblige, then great. But he was like, "Yeah, you're going to be going to work." Yeah, like 1 or 2 days a week. And she was like, "Why? You cannot provide for us?" And he's like, "Do you read the news? I have no money. Like, nobody has money. It's very hard to provide for 2 adults and one adult who needs Botox." I wonder how fast her metabolism is if she's just like pumping through Botox constantly. Like, doesn't it stay for 4 or 5 months? I don't know, but that's besides the point. He has a new girlfriend named Miranda. She was in the crowd and they kept panning to her throughout before they exposed who she was. So that was the first breakup that we are talking about. I do have to wonder, how drunk did Anton get the night of the wedding? He said, "This bitch said no to me." He didn't even know at that point he was going to be pegged as an overdrinker. So God knows he tied one on with those buddies. They absolutely ended up in the strip club. And why not? You got dumped on the altar. It's a good time to, have a couple drinks and hang out. Okay, moving on to Edmund and Calabria. Destination devastation. Ooh, okay, where do we start with them? So basically, I'm like, they met in the pods. And even at the reunion, when Calabria was like, "Let me take this paper out of my breast to read my speech to Edmund because I like need that kind of support because this guy's gonna have me going all over the place and talking in circles." But I mean, honestly, if I like pulled a piece of paper out of out of my boobs, like in a tight dress with like production lighting on me and like makeup, like I feel like the ink would literally be like splotchy. Like it'd be so hot and sweaty in there. So go off, Calabria, for having, I guess, like a really great quality pen or just like not sweaty big boobs. I don't know how you can do that, but I would have not been able to eloquently take that piece of paper out of there. It would have been sticking to my chest. But besides that, she was basically going on saying like, "I really feel like, we weren't just trauma bonding in there, we became best friends, and I really thought, we were going to, be together, we were singing together." I'm like, "Singing together? No, I don't want to see that, I don't want to hear that." But then she was saying basically like she got the ick immediately when they met, which like I don't blame them. And I talked about this when we talked about Love Is Blind a couple weeks ago, and I was basically saying like when he like ran out of there in like his Steve Urkel pants and like the hair pick and like a florally shirt with like a funky bolo tie, like he just has too many accessories happening at once. And I feel like she saw that and just said, "No, this is not going to work." And from that point on, it was just like, she wants to be kind to this man. She wants to give him a chance. But like when you got the ick, you got the ick. And unfortunately, like love isn't blind and she wasn't feeling it. Also in the pods, he talked about how he played competitive football. And so like she probably was thinking she's going to get like this big swole ass guy, like who also has like a heart of gold and like has this like terrible trauma story. But then she gets like this sweet guy who, I think he's cute, but his like swaggy is just like not for me. Like, and not for Calabria either. But I saw a picture of him in like a football outfit, and obviously he was like younger and probably like way more fit, but he was looking good. And so she probably was like thinking she was just gonna get something different when she opened that door. And again, like the people have the right to feel that way. Like, chemistry is important and you need that. And then when she saw his mannerisms and I was always crying, she was like, I thought the crying was cute in the pods. Like, really? You did? How much were you two fucking crying? I've been with my husband now for over 4 years. I could count the amount of times like we've cried seriously, like in two hands, but like most of those times are probably me starting it. So like, why is he always crying? She's like he's saying he was on his knees and he was like really dramatic, and even like moments that we saw in the pods where they were just like hanging out. Let's not even forget that moment back in the pods when he was like making out with the floor. It was giving like flashbacks to Saltburn. Like, obviously he wasn't like making love to a grave site, but it felt like we could have gotten there, like had Edmund been outside, had there been other circumstances. Like, I feel like I was watching something bizarre and weird and like I shouldn't be seeing, and it kind of feels like he has these like childish outbursts and childish behavior that she just like couldn't handle. And so I guess like his behavior had kind of been weird on a bunch of different occasions. I guess they were moving into the apartment building and they were he was acting in a weird way and somebody called him obnoxious and he had like a freak out, was crying on the floor, and was just kind of like having these crash outs. And I guess like she expressed it like she kind of wanted him to stop. So then one day he was like, oh, I'm done crying. And then she says like, oh, so then he became a butthole. But like, I don't know, I feel like you say asshole because that kind of implies like he's being a jerk, he's being an asshole. Calling someone a butthole, like, I thought like we went medical for a second. I was like, he became a butthole. I didn't put two and two together that like butthole and asshole was the same thing. And so I guess he became an asshole and he was then manipulating her and it wasn't going anywhere. I mean, there was one moment when I think she was on the mountain, and I don't fucking blame her. I would have fucking been cursing this guy out the whole fucking time. But she basically says like, stop talking to me, bitch. When a woman starts calling their man a bitch, it is over. It is not going to work. I have done that and called a man a baby back bitch, and it didn't end well for me. You gotta just end it. Don't call him a bitch because that's just going to spiral into, even more psycho male behavior. So they go to the wedding. I will say, like, I felt like they kept panning to like extra chairs being empty because Edmund's mom didn't come, again, letting him down. Like, she's the root of a lot of his problems. Let's be fucking real. And his fifth grade teacher came, who was such a sweet woman and was really there for him throughout his wedding day. And they had been talking about how she was really there for him in fifth grade, and she was there to feed him and to tutor him and to even discipline. She kind of became a mother figure for him, and it was really sweet to see like the goodness of this woman's heart to help this boy who was clearly struggling, who clearly had a lot going on in his at home life, and to know to help him was really sweet. And then for them to still be close at this point was really just kind and loving. You had to know this wasn't going to happen. He was saying his vows and she was just like like you could tell on her face she didn't look happy. And then they get to their I do's and he obviously says I do and she doesn't even say anything. It's quiet like a church mouse, and he just like yelps. Like, it wasn't a cry, it wasn't a word, it was just like like he just expressed a sound, a guttural moan, and he knew it was over. And then the problem that I had with their breakup was then she was like talking to him on the side and she's like, I will always love you. I fell in love with you. I will always accept you. Like, don't ever feel like I will never be the biggest love and supporter of you in my life. He's like, okay, great, but then like, wouldn't you want to marry me? Like, you could feel that way as a friend, but like not as a romantic partner. And it kind of felt similar to Casey not being able to just fucking dump Patrick. And she was just like, I love you as a good person, and I could see your kind heart, and I could see it's like, it's done. That's a wrap. But that's a wrap. Talk about it at the reunion. That's when you guys can hash it out, not on the side of the, the wedding altar where all your friends and family are like 18 feet away. Like, oh my god. The reunion, they ultimately ended up hugging it out, but they kind of went back and forth. She was calling him manipulative, and I felt so bad. Like, I honestly felt like it was kind of unfair watching him. I felt like he got really caught up and stuck on the word manipulative, and he just like couldn't stop kind of regurgitating the same thing over and over again. Just wasn't making sense. And I feel like at a certain point KB was like, I kind of just have to stop. Like, he's not getting it, and this is not going to read in any positive way if I'm too stern or too mean with him. And she even mentions that, he was provoking her while they were filming to become this angry black woman stereotype that she is not. And she's like, guy, I told you before we filmed that I don't appreciate when you do things that provoke me and make me look a certain way on television when you know that so many people will think automatically negatively about her in that situation. But like, it didn't seem like he cared. And then he immediately was like, "Oh, when she was PMSing, I just didn't know how to talk to her, and I couldn't." Da, da, da." It's like you hear PMS, and it's like, "Oh, shut up, shut up." It's not PMS. And what's a man's excuse for being a crazy, all over the place hot mess? He doesn't even fucking bleed every month. And if men did fucking get their periods, we'd probably have a week off every fucking month to stay home and nurture our achy bodies. Fuck men and fuck guys who bring up PMSing as if he even knows what fucking PMS stands for. I'm sorry. I'm with KB. At that point, she's like, and that's a wrap. We're done. It was great knowing you. I hope good things are happening for you. But he did say, if it wasn't for the show, he wouldn't have met a girl like Calabria and how, lovely she was. And so I hope that he learns from this experience and can, just kind of grow up a little bit and see that, like, you can't fall and cry on your knees every time you don't get what you want or when you don't feel like you're being heard. Like, unfortunately, like, I feel like because of his troubled childhood, I feel like he probably has so much pent up anger and angst and behavioral coping skills in life that, aren't particularly healthy because he had to create them to protect himself, growing up in an unstable environment. Hopefully he stays in touch with the fifth grade teacher because she clearly was, very proud of him. And I thought that was very sweet. Okay, you guys, we have to move on to Jordan and Sparkle Megan. Sparkle Meg, we love to see it. I knew things weren't going to be good for them when the last episode of the wedding episode had 11 minutes left. There are all these tells in reality television about, how a show can pan out either way or the other, based on the timing of, various plot points. I'm like, all right, we should have 3 weddings, and why are the other two 29 minutes long and this one's 11? Suspect. So, of course, we know Sparkle Megan, the least sparkly personality in the world, but that's okay because she's a mom now. Let's just jump right to it. Let's talk about her thick new body. I like how Calabria was like, "Oh, that's why you got so thick. Like you just had a baby." So I guess a couple months after getting out of the pods, don't get Megan wrong, she did dump Jordan, and then she tried to date Mike. They went out on a few dates, didn't work, and she also supposedly got a marg with Blake. So she was trying to mix and mingle with some of the guys in the house, trying to make something work until she met her rich bald daddy Paul. Like, he looks tall, he's got a shiny old dome, and you know what? I like a man who says, I don't have hair and it's not looking good. So if I shave this and like put on like a wax or something, what, like a head oil, not beard oil, it's a head oil, and have this beautiful dome looking good, you could be a confident, sexy man. Guys, there's actually oh my god, there's actually a Reddit thread that I'm on for some fucking reason. It's like r/ should I shave it all off or something, and it's like pictures of guys in their transformation from whatever like measly little strands of hair that they have to being bald or have a crew cut, and you see that so many of these guys look so much hotter. So I was so happy when I saw she was with hot daddy Paul, and they have a baby. They have a baby that's 2.5 months old named Brooks, who is so cute. And, there's of course a montage of gorgeous photography. There's a beautiful wallpapered nursery, of course. And yeah, she's just a mamacita. Like, that's it. She's a mom now. And Jordan was looking good. I'm sorry. I know I had the audacity to call him attractive adjacent, but he slimmed down. Those meat smoothies are working. He looked so cute. And he seems like he's doing well, feeling good. Seems like Luca's doing well. We didn't get a lot about him. And he knew about Megan being pregnant before the reunion, which is good. I guess a person DM'd him about it. And he said ultimately, like, it was for the best. He said she'll be a great mom. Like, they seemed like they were in a good place with one another. He did have to describe the different types of diabetes. It's shocking that people still don't know that there are two types of diabetes, but we're not going to go there. Not a medical podcast. And, the two of them weren't going to work, and we kind of knew this. And I think it came to a head again when they were living together and they realized, like, just the banality of life. And it seems like a common problem with the show is women accepting just like the basic everyday banality of everyday life, because every day isn't fun. Every day isn't going to be going to Aspen or tennis lessons at 10 a.m., which, like, must be fucking nice. That sounds amazing, Megan. Like, your life is great. But some people do need to work. And you know what? Jordan clearly values his job, putting in a hard day's work, focusing on his son, having a clean, safe home for him, having stability for his child. And Megan's just not there yet. Well, now she is because she's a mom. But at the time, I didn't think she understood the realities of being with a single dad. And I've never been with a single dad. I definitely wouldn't either. Why can't we go out to dinner? Why can't we do this? Why can't we do this? It's like, well, because, your time is spent differently and your money is spent differently. And unfortunately, Megan, Sparkle Megan, you're not his number one priority, and you never will be over his child, especially a child with diabetes, and we all know Megan loves diabetes. So they touch on it a little bit about how Megan was upset when she heard that Jordan said that he regret introducing him to Luca. They ultimately seemed like they ended on a good note, which was nice. It's better to end on a good note than a bad note. And I bet she's using some of the things that she learned in her relationship with Jordan in her, new lifestyle now. And so I'm happy for them. Great times, good times. I do have to wonder, is Megan's baby really impressed by the Range Rover that she drives? Like, that was like the first 4 episodes they were constantly talking about this car. I'm like, what kind of fucking car does she have? A Lamborghini? Like, that would have been like, oh my God, you're so rich. But she's like in her early 30s and very successful, and again, doesn't have kids and clearly comes from family with money too. It's like, it's not shocking that she would have a luxury car. Like, okay, Megan, I know you're so special. You're so sparkly. Anyways, moving on to Nick and Annie. Again, these two, as well as Joe and Madison and Casey and Patrick, were all at the reunion, but of course, didn't make it even to the final episode. So as we know, Nick and Annie broke up. Their breakup was really sad because she was just not accepting it. And it seems like they had been drinking the night before. And then she mentions, like, oh, well, I'm glad we did some hair of the dog. And this looked like a post brunch kind of buzzed and also hungover conversation, which is never good. So basically, she was really upset because I guess he had mentioned that the guys all kind of have been talking about how they all were a little nervous about the weddings. And then at that point, she was like, well, I'm not nervous about the wedding. I'm 100% certain you're the love of my life, my mountain man. And then she goes, you're Nick fucking Amato. Like, you're one of the most amazing guys I've ever met. And he's like, I cannot go on any longer. Like, I am not happy. And she's just like pleading and begging, like, how could you do this to me? Question mark. Don't do this to me right now. Like, please stop. Please stop. You can't say no to me. You can't say no. You can't say no. She's just refusing to be dumped. It's really impressive. And, she's saying to him, like, you're flipping my world upside down. How could you do this to me? And then he just goes, like, how long are you going to drag this out? Where do we go from here? Like, this is not gonna ever work. He's like, you can't make me marry you. Like, I'm not marrying you. And she's like, yes, you are. Yes, you are. How could you do this to me? And he's like, and then he just says, I can't marry you because I'm unhappy. And I felt so bad for him. I felt like it was so honest. He's like, I'm not happy. This is not good. Like, we don't have to go into the specifics, the nitty gritty on why I want to dump you. Like, I just am not happy. This is it. And I will say I was a little rough on Nick the last time we podcasted together about this show. But I will say I was calling him gay a lot, which, it could be the case, and that's fine. Do whatever you need to do, be with whomever you'd like. And I'd rather him be happy and gay than tortured in a relationship with a woman like Annie, who, like, doesn't listen and doesn't care about him. And let's be real, the whole time, like, the first, like, 2 days, she kept being like, I thought you were going to be a mountain man. I thought you were going to be like a big burly mountain man. I thought you were going to be a mountain man. And she's like crying, please. Change how you look. He's like, I'm a bougie mountain man. And she was like, I thought you were going to be like the hot lumberjack from the brawny paper towels. He's like, nope. Cartier bracelets, Rolex, Patek Philippe. You want a fancy watch? I'm your guy. She's like, great. I'm not into you at all, but I'm going to fucking force it because my life depends on it. Poor girl. I knew that couple wasn't going to last. And they basically like didn't even go into it at the reunion. Honestly, like I don't even remember really any major conversation going on. Basically, Nick was saying he was more disgusted about how he watched his relationship with Kate. Kate was the other like cute random blonde girl that got, dumped by him. And she was like, this is why people have trust issues, yada yada. Annie was talking about her relationship with Brandon a little bit, with Brendan. And so Annie was talking a little bit about her relationship with Brendan. And, she was like, people were saying, should we have gone together? Should we have been together? Whatever. So it seemed like people were also kind of asking Annie, like, oh, do you wish you picked Brendan? And she was like, no, actually, not at all. So, I mean, who knows where those two will end. It didn't seem like Annie or Nick really kind of were dating within the group at all. And there was one moment, which I do feel like I have tapped into something, and I wonder if the editors will let me know if I'm correct. But throughout the show, Edmund was very into Annie. First, he was crying when Nick proposed to Annie, and he was crying for Brendan, but it felt like it was a dramatic response given the fact that Brendan was just like, damn. And then Edmund is like sobbing uncontrollably. We know he's prone to crying, but it felt like an unwarranted reaction. And so that there was two different moments. One, when Edmund was first meeting everybody in Mexico, he like immediately called Annie cute and said he liked her messy hair and that her makeup was like kind of messy and all over the place. He said he was into that. And then what sparked one of his biggest fights with Calabria was when she got upset because he was like, I heard Annie say that Nick is perfect, and like I just wish someone thought I was perfect. And that's when KB was like, "Bro, don't do this at the fucking bar. Like, why are you doing this? Why are you talking about this?" And so I kind of have a feeling that Edmund was actually also really into Annie. I don't know where that tangent came from, but again, I'm doing the hard work so you guys don't have to. Okay, let's move on because we only have so many hours in the day. Again, if you guys are watching on video, you will see my dog prancing around behind me, and you might even be able to hear her little pitter patter feet. She's eating, she eats on the carpet. It's a whole big problem. She's terribly untrained, but she's so fucking cute that she could fucking shit on the rug and I don't care. Now, moving on to Joe and Madison never had an ounce of making it. Joe is incredibly attractive. He's a gorgeous mustache, one that I would ride. And he is, of course, a gorgeous Italian guy. Total idiot, total fool, but he's really hot. And Madison's a pretty little blonde girl, basic, classic white. And, her big thing was that she's going to go blind eventually. And he was like, I'll be there for you. I'll be your seeing eye husband. Like, don't worry. I will never leave you. And then, like, 15 minutes later, he's like, I'm really drunk. I actually can't see myself. So you're actually going to have to walk me to the car. Like, that would never have worked in the grand scheme. But they obviously didn't work out. They had a pretty big blowout too. When he was at the tux fitting and he said, half of me is elated to be here and the other half of me wants to jump out of a window, I said, can we just fast forward to the breakup? Like, we don't need to keep seeing you attempt to tie a tie. Like, you don't know how to, and that's okay. He was a bit of a drinker. Like, it was uncomfortably drunk. When I rewatched the season for this episode, again, I need a fucking hobby. 12 cute hours of my life gone. In addition to like the first time I watched it. So it's been I have to just change my life. I'm changing my life after this episode. But when I rewatched it, I did see that he did get like incoherently drunk, and like throughout the whole party, he was being drunk and weird. And then when he did wake up, like from his dead drunk stupor, he was like still behaving very weird. So I understand that she was very uncomfortable with that, and it felt weird being near him, and also scary a little bit when like your partner like is so drunk and like they're not seeing that you're kind of hurting and like their behavior is actually really hurting you. And so it was just like a little dark. Obviously they had to break up. But we do get some fun tea that I guess Joe and Casey, who were linking up in the pods, they were each other's number 3, and they ended up meeting up after the show aired and were kind of dating a little bit on and off. So it seems like there was some pool party that Casey was at, Joe was at, Madison, and I guess Joe's girlfriend Avery, who I did find on Instagram, and she's cute, random girl, and Wes Wilson from Summer House follows her. So maybe they're all Eskimo sisters and brothers over there. But basically, Casey was crying about Joe at the party. Nick Lachey said, Casey, so what was it like having waterworks at the pool party? And which, by the way, I feel like Nick and Vanessa have both really earned their stripes as hosts. They did a really good job this year. It only took like 5 or 6 years, but when it takes everybody a little bit of time to get, to masterful levels of their craft. But Casey was crying at the pool party, and Joe was like, "Ooh, sorry." And I guess that's kind of when everybody found out that the two of them had had a little bit of a fling. And I mean, Casey and Patrick, we talked about it on the last episode where we discussed Love is Blind, but I mean, she literally saw what he looked like, went back to the hotel room, took off her dress and must have called the producers and was like, "Okay, yeah, this is never gonna work. This is never going to work. I'm not going to be interested in him." And no, it has nothing to do with how he looks. It just has everything to do with how he looks. Poor guy. And all he wanted was an apology. He kept being like, at this point, Casey, you can just apologize and we will be done. This is not for me. I do not need this apology. They're being mean to you because you were mean to me. So maybe just apologize for you, but for them, but not for me. It's not for me. But can you please just say you're sorry to me, please? Poor guy. Bro, she doesn't like you and she completely fucking embarrassed you and hurt you. It was so cruel what she did. And the fact that the editors, constantly kept replaying, their breakup in the moment where she was like, it's nothing to do with how you look. It could never possibly ever in 1 million years be because of the way you look. It's because of me. And then they show the conversation that Casey had with production and she's like, yeah, the way he looks is just not what I like. So this poor guy is seeing this and he's just like, can you please just say you're sorry? I opened up to you. I told you I felt like a baby seal. And I guess she has a fucking landing strip. Whatever joke Vanessa Lachey said to Nick Lachey, he got so turned on by that. He was like, nice, babe, yeah. And that bitch went to the fucking waxing salon the next day and she said, get me a landing strip like Casey. But you know what? She did embarrass him, and I understand that. But the ring situation, I'm on Team Allie. Netflix provided the ring, and like Nick said, he said, give it back to production because neither of you should have any ownership of this ring that production purchased. And I don't really know if I have a stance on, keep the ring or give the ring back because she had the ring in her hands for 3.5 hours. You know, uh, I don't know. Is it her ring? It was given. It was a gift to her. Yes, but that gift also comes with some strings attached. Like going to Baja and then going back to Denver and being together. But she couldn't even do that. So you didn't earn the ring. But she very much thought she did, and then she did earn the ring back in the basketball tournament with the hot NBA player. That exactly was the moment where I said, what are we doing here? Why are we even doing this reunion at this point? Because we're not having any conversations that are interesting, juicy, fun, nothing. There's no good news across the board, except Megan having a baby. But other than that, oh yeah, there's Jordan getting skinny and hotter, so that's kind of cool. But other than that, yeah, there's not much really happening here. There's not a lot of substance. So that kind of leads us to the end of today's episode. I'm really shocked that this season didn't have a single freaking wedding. It was the first of its kind and most likely not the last. I'm assuming production is feeling like next season they're going to have to really overload the love for us because it's a show all about falling in love blindly and falling for somebody for who they are and not what they look like. But as we see time and time again on this show and just in freaking real life, it does matter. You can really have a kind of an artificial relationship with someone over the phone or via email or just digitally. But once you get into the real world, you realize that people are so nuanced and how they look and how they behave and how they react to situations is very much the crux of what a loving relationship is. And then relationships are also just like not fun and games all the time. That's like something I struggled with when I first got into a serious relationship. I'm like, oh my God, you're telling me, yeah, like you just go to work and then like eat like a sad dinner and like play video games? Like, what is a man's existence? Whereas like I'm trying to like go to cocktail lounges and have fun. But, I'm still like that forever, but, not every day. And I've actually grown to love this simple life that we have. And I've actually grown so much more because of it. But that's a hard pill for people to swallow. And I think that's another thing that I think we saw on this show as well. And that goes for men and women too. It's not either or. So, I mean, come on, really bringing out the fucking closing shot of Anton's foot, the thing that Allie said she hated the most about him. She said, I hate your stinky, ugly Tootsie Toes. They are disgusting, and that's why I'm not with you. Not because you overdrink constantly. It's because you need a pedicure. It's been a while. But I can't really imagine he's one of those guys at the salon, but you never know. It could have inspired him to be so. So thank you so much for tuning into I Know You Didn't Ask. If you are interested in an actual wedding episode all about love, go back to my wedding do's and don'ts episode. It was just fun to be able to spend time talking about my wedding and talk about some of the takeaways that I had that I think were kind of healthy. Like I didn't get any pushback on like you're an ungrateful, stupid bitch, like which I thought kind of was gonna be hitting my inbox, but I didn't really get that. I got very sweet, supportive comments. So thank you so much for listening to this Love is Blind episode, as well as just all episodes of I Know You Didn't Ask. Have a great rest of your week, and there's so much more to come of I Know You Didn't Ask. New episodes of the I Know You Didn't Ask podcast are out every Monday and Friday, available wherever you listen to podcasts and on YouTube.